Yep, so over this last weekend, this past Saturday, boxing over here in the UK, we had Sunderland's Josh Kelly challenging Russia's Bakhram Murtazaliev for the IBF light middleweight, aka super welterweight title. And Josh Kelly was on a bid to become the first ever world champion from Sunderland. He did this successfully, but I felt it was a very, very close fight. The way this fight began was Josh Kelly, for me, and those I watched it with, sort of Josh Kelly taking the first couple of rounds, taking the sort of first half of the fight, spending it jabbing, moving. He's not the most active fighter, Josh Kelly, but he was spending most of those early rounds sort of doing a little bit of work, throwing one or two punches, and staying out of Murtazaliev's way. And that was pretty much his strategy, just moving, moving, moving. Some may call it running, but he was landing a few shots here and there. But the main reason he was having his success was that Murtazaliev wasn't really able to get much work off in those earlier rounds. So he was kind of nullifying Murtazaliev in that sense because although Bakhram it was coming forward, Murtazaliev, but he wasn't really sort of able to cut off the ring. He wasn't able to cut off the exits for Josh Kelly. So Kelly ended up sort of just moving around him, landing the occasional shot, doing a lot of fancy moves, leaning back out the way of shots and stuff, making Murtazaliev miss. And for me, in that first half of the fight, Josh Kelly was sort of in the lead. I think he was in the lead going into the second half of the fight. And he also got a little knockdown, but it was more of a sort of flash knockdown. It was one of those where Murtazaliev squared up, and then Kelly, as Kelly was moving away from Murtazaliev, he was trying to throw a shot. He squared up on Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly just flicked out a jab, decent little jab, but not the hardest of shots at all. Just pushed out a jab, and Murtazaliev went down, and you could tell he was annoyed with himself. And it was more of like, as I say, an off balance flash knockdown, and the fight carried on from there. Kelly didn't really go for the finish there. He didn't go after Murtazaliev. He was just let him get to his feet, and he was back to circling around the ring, back to moving and sort of darting around the ring, different angles, and not much in by the way of work rate, but he was moving around, making his man miss, and occasionally making him pay. So the fight carries on. Murtazaliev sort of one paced throughout it, not really stepping things up. But he had a breakthrough in the ninth round because I had it. I thought it was quite heavily in Josh Kelly's favor. Right until that knockdown. Really, I thought the knockdown in the ninth round by Murtazaliev kind of made the fight a little bit more even, gave Murtazaliev the chance to get back in the fight and get back. And I felt it did get him back in the fight. And as the rounds wore on, for me, I felt that those last couple of rounds sort of, you got the ninth round, obviously, the 2 point round. And in the 10th round, Murtazaliev was just sort of following Josh Kelly around. But Kelly was just sort of more in survival mode, just sort of running away, trying his best sort of not to get hit, which makes a lot of sense because he'd just been hurt, he'd just been down quite heavily in the ninth round, so he was just moving around, running. He wasn't really scoring any points, so I suppose the 10th you've got to go with Murtazaliev, and for me that kind of evened it up. And I felt going into round 11 and 12 for me, I felt I needed to see something from Josh Kelly because it was really close. It was a knockdown apiece. Murtazaliev following him around, and not much coming from Josh Kelly. So I felt he needed to do something. He needed to at least do that. Me and my friend, we were saying, needed, even if he's not throwing hard punches, he needed a bit of a shoe shine like that. Sugar Ray Leonard, just let your hands go a little bit, let a few flashy combinations go. Don't have to be hard. You don't have to plant your feet for too long. But I felt he needed to flurry a bit, throw some shots, and show the judges that you win the round. But he just seemed to be content to just do the bare minimum and just sort of move around the ring, not much activity, just moving. Murtazaliev followed him around, lands the occasional hard shot, but, not really much. And, round 11, round 12, again, more of the same, where Josh Kelly doing a bit of showboating, landing the occasional shot, but not really doing much to show or convince the judge that he was winning. It was more the showboating he did that sort of, for me, it must have been what convinced the judges were winning, that he was winning, sorry, because there wasn't really much by way of work. So when it came to the 12th round, when that bell rang, for me and my friend, we sort of thought it might be a draw, or maybe it goes to the champion, because it's one of those things where, yes, Kelly had the chance there to win it, but because there was so little punch output by him, and he's getting sort of chased around the ring, I just thought he needed to do that little bit more to satisfy me as someone watching it, and to satisfy the judges, at least I thought. But no, it went to him, and it's one of those fights where, as much as I'll say, that's what I thought it probably, if anything, should have gone to Murtazaliev. I just base it on Kelly not doing much. But then at the same time, you could also argue that Murtazaliev, when he had Josh Kelly down and he had him hurt, there wasn't any urgency in his work either. So while I'm saying Josh Kelly should have done a bit more, you could also argue that Murtazaliev never really showed much urgency in his boxing, in his work, and he never really steamed after Josh Kelly, and sort of went for the finish and really tried to put his authority on it. He was just sort of content to follow Kelly around. So it's one of those where I suppose you could say it's a bit like, more like, what do you like? Do you like the flashiness of Josh Kelly, or do you like the aggression of Murtazaliev? And because neither man really separated themselves or did anything spectacular like Murtazaliev, he's putting pressure, but not much by way of punches landed, and same with Josh Kelly, not much, but Kelly was a bit flashy, showboating and stuff, and I guess that's what the judges liked. So yeah, it was a close fight. It's not something I would call a robbery, because, as I said, there was a lack of activity from both guys at times. So no one really put their stamp on that fight. So it can go either way. But yeah, congrats to Josh Kelly. Decent performance, but there are sharks out there. You got Boots Ennis out there, you got Virgil Ortiz out there, and whatnot. And I think, as many others have said, that a good fight for him might be something like a Conor Benn fight in the UK, because Conor Benn, he's been at middleweight his last two fights. I don't think he's made the welterweight limit in about 4 years. So something at 154, world title opportunity against Josh Kelly, that would probably suit Conor Benn quite well, and obviously massive payday for Josh Kelly too. So yeah, we'll see what Josh Kelly does next, but yeah, overall, very close fight. I think it could have gone either way, really, but it's one of those, you can't really grumble at the decision, because there really wasn't much in it, to be honest with you. So let me know your thoughts on the fight, and until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.